Princeps milite celestis, Satana malios que spiritus malignos, fiat perditione animarum, per vagantur in mundo divina virtute.
Adrian, it's a very good evening to you. I'm hoping that you can hear me now. And a very warm welcome back to Tenconi Talks. A small break last week for reasons that I will bore you with very, very briefly. But for now, guys, it's coming to the end of Lent. If, like me, you're fasting, then it's hang in there time. We haven't got long to go. God bless you all for trying. If you're feeling how I'm feeling right now, it's so blessed and it's so fortunate. Welcome back to Tenconi Talks at the slightly later time of 9:53 on a Wednesday evening, live and direct from Tenconi Towers, as ever, in the bunker. Last week, a small break from Tenconi Talks, partly due to workload, partly due to health, but partly due to being in and out of mass all the time. Thanks be to God. Again, the later time this evening, we will get back to 8 p.m. on a Wednesday evenings, give or take an inch at some point. But it's an incredibly busy time for us Christians, as you all well know. And thanks be to God. Very difficult, the strictest of religions, the toughest of religions. And that's our reward, right? Suffering is grace. So here's me tonight with a small update. As you can see, it's just me tonight on my own. A small update over the last week, and what a 7 days it's been, to the point where sometimes I like to involve a little bit of structure in Tenconi Talks. I'll even put up some items and some images on the screen, but actually we don't need to do that this evening. This time last week, you'll all be familiar with the fact that something went through the House of Lords, an act of Parliament, a bill went through the House of Lords, which is the last stage. There's several stages. It's the last stage before it goes on to royal assent, where King Charles has to essentially okay it, and he has all the power to say absolutely no, but I'm not sure that this has happened or would ever happen. And that bill is basically allowing abortion up until birth. I'm sure you'll all be aware of that. This episode is focused tonight on how Merseyside police treated us on Saturday in Liverpool, where the communists declared war, essentially, and the liberal Christians and the secular Christians, and Christian in name only, of course, declared war on us. And the Merseyside police decided to side with the communists. So I'm going to be talking you through a blow-by-blow account of what happened on Saturday. I was also in Dalton in Furness on Friday evening as well. We're going to talk through a little bit about what's going on there with the creation of the mosque being built there in Dalton in Furness. A very, very interesting situation that's come about. But first of all, my brothers and sisters, it's great to be back with you again. Apologies for not being here next week. We will always try and be with you Wednesday, 8 p.m. in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. By all means, input into the comments whatever you like, guys, and I will see what I can do to address any major issues that come up. So let's start with last Wednesday, guys. It was hang in there time, and around about midnight, I think the news broke that and you'll have to forgive me because there are a lot of numbers here, but X number of lords, I think there's like 850 or something like that, X number of lords, 170 or maybe less, turned up or were there. And I presume there's spiritual lords, Lord spiritual, there's 27, again, 28, 27's in my head. And anyway, so a whole bunch of the Lord spiritual were there and a bunch of the lords were there, but who actually knows, who bothers turning up to these things and etc. And listen, we know that the bill is a product of Labour, Lib Dem ideology, but we know that I think there were 7 or 8 conservatives who voted for the bill. And the first thing that I want to bring your attention to, ladies and gentlemen, is why is this bill in Parliament? Now let's have a think about that. We've got homeless people on the street. we've got veterans on the street, we've got house prices that are through the roof to the point where man and woman aren't incentivized to, I don't know, let's get a plot of land, let's maybe fill it with kids, let's get married, have a family, etc. So from the top down, we've got problems across the board there. We've got an illegal Islamist invasion going on throughout our country, which no one voted for, by the way. There's so many problems. People talk a lot about money and about tax. It's not something that I'm overly concerned with. I think that we can be taxed into oblivion or not. There's so many things that need to be addressed economically. The taxpayer pot is there, and we entrust the government to make sure they do the right thing by us, which they don't. But more important than money, our culture and religion are one and the same thing. So with all these problems that we've got in society, my question to the laity, to the disciples, to the patriots becomes, why was this even in Parliament? Why was this bill even thought of? There's a Labour MP called Antonia, and I forget her surname now. And I think she's the person who's when you become an MP, you can start. You have a lot of sway, you have a lot of power, and you can start to draft these bills and push these bills forward, and you get the attention of the government and the Prime Minister. There's another lady whose name escapes me now, utterly demonic. She's a Labour MP as well. It'll come back to me in a second, or someone's gonna remind me in the comments just there. Yeah, that'll come back to me in a second. And these people said, you know what, I'm going to make it my lifelong mission. To women, Labour MPs, we're going to make it our mission to make sure that before we die, that this bill gets passed through Parliament, which is to ensure that women can abort their children up until birth. So the law clearly states at the moment there are 6 or 7 categories, and the majority of abortions happen under category C, the middle category, which is that basically if there's any harm or psychological damage, or if there's any interruption to the woman in any way, shape or form, the legal limit is 24 weeks at the moment, by the way. If there's underground C, the woman can essentially have it aborted. So up to 24 weeks, you can have your baby aborted, and you can say, and 2 doctors have to sign off on this. But we also know there's hundreds of thousands of abortions a year. You guys are aware of this, right? So last year, what are the stats? It was up to 300,000, something like that. So we know that the vast majority of abortions, where there's a 24-week limit, happen just because it's inconvenient. The woman says no. So it'll be something like, yeah, we're not together anymore. Me and the guy who got me pregnant, we're not together anymore. So you were never married, right? Okay, fine. So you were having what, promiscuous sex, or you were having casual sex, you weren't using protection, which is a separate conversation. And so the vast majority of abortions, bearing in mind the rules and the number of abortions, we can easily ascertain that the rules in place at the moment, where you have to have 2 doctors sign it off, basically mean that it's a free-for-all. You can get signed off very easily, and there's a culture of death with our nurses, with our doctors, and with our NHS. At no point is there any Christian barrier layer of protection which says to the woman, look, I think you need to think about this, because this is a life. It's a life growing inside of you, and this is something that's gonna have consequences forever. So let's be absolutely clear, patriots. The legal limit at the moment with all these satanic bills is 24 weeks. And people will say on the left that there are all these safeguards in place. Well, look at the number of abortions. It's 300,000 roughly a year. And if we keep going on the trajectory that we're on, it will be millions in 20, 30 years' time. It will be millions per year as well. So there are no safeguards. Does that make sense? There are safeguards, is what the left say to abortion. This is a lie. There are no safeguards. The doctors, the NHS, the clinics, they're just writing blank checks. They're just do what you like. It's not difficult for 2 people to put signatures to things. There are no safeguards whatsoever. So you've already got an enormous amount of abortions going on. You've got hundreds of thousands a year. And abortion, as we know, is one of the biggest killers. You can talk about man all you like and wars all you like, but it's one of the biggest killers. So we know where we stand, guys. And these 2 individuals, these Labour MPs, the other one whose name was going to come back to me, someone needs to remind me in the comments, but also Antonia as well. Again, her surname will come back to me. These guys thought it's not enough. We need more abortions, so that when before the baby's being born, the woman can say to the doctor, I want you to terminate. That's what they want. So imagine you're in the delivery room with the stirrups and everything, and you're all good to go. And the woman says to the doctor, kill the baby. They want that to be legal. And I'm sure you're all aware of what that looks and sounds like in terms of how you abort, when you abort at this stage, when you abort at this stage, when you abort at this stage. There is an argument to say, of course, which is what the left and liberals will do, will say that initially at conception, which is obviously a miraculous moment and a spark of light can not be seen by us, but we know a spark of light occurs. It's the creation of life, thanks be to God. There's a difference between the formation of the baby, the life form there, and at full term. We all know that it's grown over 9 months, for example. The limbs are formed, etc. It doesn't change the fact that it's a life at conception and it's a life at birth. But what these Labour MPs want to do is to be able to grant women the opportunity to say to the doctor, again, ready to deliver, kill my baby. And then going back to the point I'm trying to make, which is ever so sad to do, how do you do that? Well, what you do is you would anesthetize the baby. You would put an injection into the baby, kill the baby, then you would pull out the baby dead, and then the child would lie there dead. So this is very difficult for me to talk about, and I last Wednesday was just so awful, guys, because we're surrounded by so much darkness. It's truly awful. So my question becomes, why is this in the Houses of Parliament? Why is it in the Houses of Lords? Why is it there? Does that make sense, guys? Why is this even there with all the problems that we've got within society? Again, coming away from my cultural religious argument and go to the economic side. Our roads are absolutely destroyed. It's making life a misery, driving in Britain, living in Britain. The taxation, the volume of taxation, the level of taxation, generally speaking, nothing ever changes, whether it's a blue, red, yellow government, nothing ever changes. We're being taxed into oblivion. There are so many problems, so many problems. But my argument is the cultural and the religious side of it. So my question remains, patriots, why was this even in Parliament? Thank you so much, Samuel. The lady that I'm referring to is not Antonia, but Tonia Antoniazzi. Tonia Antoniazzi. Absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. And I can only imagine the punishment for her if she doesn't repent and if she doesn't look to change her ways. I can only imagine the punishment for her. Let's see if someone else can remember the name of the individual. That slipped my mind. I know the constituency that she's an MP in as well. So let's have a little look in the comments. There's obviously a lot of Christian people in these comments, and obviously, I have their full support. There's some very bizarre, very bizarre comments from some very unwell people by the looks of things already. A lot of angry people there. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, you'd have thought everyone would have been completely on board with what I just said, but no. It's oof. So there you go, guys. Last Wednesday, absolutely abhorrent. So what's the plan, guys? Again, what is the plan? I think that we should be backing the idea of putting Christianity back into the heart of government. I think we should be backing the idea of reinstating Christ back into the heart of government. By definition, that's the 7 sacraments, that's the 10 commandments, and the acknowledgement of the 7 deadly sins. At a very basic overview, this should be back in Parliament. We should be starting every Parliament session with Christian prayer and closing with Christian prayer to set the tone. And we need a Prime Minister who's also practicing devout Christian, who's going to lead the nation back to greatness. And with that means issuing severe punishment to the radical left and to that extent the communists as well, because they are the subversives. The Islamists, this is going to be very easy to deal with mass deportations. They're going home. That's it. We're going to rip out the Islamist rot. This is a smaller number, but I think these communists, I think that everybody is misunderstanding that behind every communist there's a socialist, and behind every socialist there's a liberal. It's a slippery, that center to the far left is, it's a very slippery slope, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what I say. And we've got 3 years for everyone to get their act together and to get their house in order, and we will see what happens. Thanks be to God. So that's what happened last Wednesday. I had a very busy weekend in the field. Thanks be to God. Such a privilege to be in Dalton in Furness on Friday. In Dalton in Furness, for those of you that don't know, when we're heading up north, guys, and then Cumbria's on the left there, you hook a left and you head to the coast in Cumbria. It's a beautiful part of the world. It's what we refer to as England's green and pleasant land. And we all know the deal. In terms of mass uncontrolled immigration and in terms of the Islamist invasion, it was all focused in the cities. So we know what happened in places like Whitechapel, places like Telford, Oldham, various parts of the North Bradford. There are pockets. And basically what happened was, from the 70s onward, the government just said, right, we've identified these areas and we're going to flood those areas. I don't know why they decided that. I'll be honest with you. I'd love for someone to tell me one day why it was that they selected those areas. But it was almost like they took the best of British and they just said, yeah, we're gonna push everything in there. Maybe it's because people had become wealthy in the country, and so those former council estate areas had done quite well, and maybe they moved out and there was an abundance of houses that were available. But we all know where for the last 50 years where they've been pushed. And then the problem is that over the last few years, you're seeing an awful lot more of the militant, the Islamist militant get up, the burqa, the hijab, etc. You'll see that you'll be in random towns by the seaside, in our green and pleasant land, etc. This is something that we hold so very sacred and dear to our heart in Britain. Our seasides, our seaside towns, and our rural communities, our rural towns, our green and pleasant land. And over the last couple of years, you just see it more and more. And now let's take the case of Dalton in Furness. Again, guys, if you're traveling from the south, head up and then wang a left into Dalton in Furness. Again, it's your green and pleasant land. And as you go into somewhere like Dalton in Furness, which has got a population of like 8,000 people, as you go in past the nursery on the left and the rolling hills to the right with the sort of medieval wall there, and it's just so picturesque and lovely, quintessential. There's now a mosque. I was there last summer. It was the shell. Now it's being built. £2.5 million, private money. The only way that you get planning permission for that is from the county council. That's what it means to be in power, guys. At the national level in Parliament, you're very powerful as an MP, and then at the local level, local, district, county. If you're a county councillor and you're in planning permission, you're the person that signs off on things, yeah? So us Christians might want to have a really long, hard think about how we're going to get ourselves into positions of power. Because there's this guy called Bill McEwen, I believe his name is. I'm just looking at the map now. Dalton in Furness, 8,000 residents. Driving in, there's one way in. Well, there's maybe more than that, but it is very much in and out. And on the left, as you guys drive in, you'll see this building there. And it's a mosque. And of course, this all kicked off probably earlier than this time last year, but by June or July, I was up there. And because that's what I do, I work for the people. So I did my own research and my own fact finding. And it turns out that 0.4% of Cumbria, you got to think about it, guys, right? So for me to get to my mass, because of where I go, because of the sort of mass I go to, I travel an hour, sometimes more, sometimes less. So I go across counties. So Cumbria is a big old county, right? But if you're living in the middle of Cumbria, and if as a Catholic, if I needed to get to my mass and that mass was an hour south in Cumbria, I'd do it, no problem at all. So they're chucking up this mosque in Dalton in Furness that has 8,000 residents, and I think there at the moment there's something like 10 to 15 registering as Muslim. So let's look at the entire of Cumbria. Let's be really fair. The entire of Cumbria has less than 0.4% Muslims identifying as Muslim. Are you with me, guys? Less than 0.4% identifying as Muslim. Cumbria, on the other hand, identifies as something like 47% Christian. So for a county, it's one of the counties that registers the highest for Christianity, because the left will always say that we never had, that it's not a Christian, left say it's not a Christian land, there are no Christians, etc. All of this is lies and false propaganda. They're absolutely wicked demons, they are. But looking at Cumbria, it identifies as 47% Christian. Now, we need to, the numbers need to be upped across the board, but that's still a big number, and we should respect that. The Islamic community in Cumbria is not less than 0.4%. So why is a £2.5 million mosque? People call it mega mosque, super mosques. I don't care for these terms at all. It's a mosque. Why is it being built in the middle of the countryside? And it literally is being built in the middle of the countryside when there's less than 0.4% identifying as Muslim. Can anybody help me with that? Can anybody tell me why that mosque is being built there? It was signed off by a county councillor called Bill McEwen. Bill McEwen doesn't live in Cumbria. The guy lives in Spain. County councillors are on 10, 15 grand a year. The guy lives in Spain. We all know that when it comes to the facts and the stats, all I can do is the best I can. And that means being there and speaking to the locals and doing my own research. The suggestion is that at county level, when it comes to planning permission, these people can be bought and paid for. Now, I can't prove that, but these people can. Why is there a mosque being built there? How did somebody sign off on this? And this all got signed off, by the way, guys, during lockdown. Okay, there was no public debate, no public consultation. It was a done deal during lockdown. And now here we are 5 years later, after the deal got made. I think it was at the start of 21. The mosque's going ahead. It's a private deal, so it's got nothing to do with taxpayer cash. Someone somewhere is funding £2.5 million for a mosque to be built in the middle of nowhere where there are no Muslims. Do you think, before we move on, guys, do you think it's sensible just to think just ever so slightly laterally and just to ask the question, why is this being built in this area? Is it to do with mass uncontrolled legal and illegal immigration? Is it to do with the small boats Islamist invasion? Is this to do with the Islamic Caliphate? Is this to do with Operation Scatter? Now, it's absolutely infuriating to me, so we will move on. I am so proud of the people that stood with me in Dalton on Friday night. It was a beautiful evening, guys. I think maybe 100 patriots turned up, and we walked from the centre of Dalton up a really steep hill to the site, and we give some speeches and we showcase that to the nation. And if I hadn't have been there last summer, I've spoken to the community leaders in Dalton in Furness. If I hadn't have been there last summer, where I went and I spoke to the workmen and the foreman and everyone on the site with the megaphone, I said, I want to speak to somebody responsible here. When I arrived, the Muslim men, you know, with the get up that they wear, with the hat and the dress and everything, I tried to speak to them and they all scattered. They all drove off in there. They all ran to their cars. They all drove off. They're all parked on the side of the road. They all scattered. Everyone, all the senior people on the site with the hard hat and the high vis, they all scattered. They wouldn't speak to me at all. Why? Can anybody help me with that? Why wouldn't someone speak to me? You've got the footage from last summer. One of the things I spoke of in my speech was to say, why isn't a church being built here? You know, if we're going to start building religious centers, why not build a church? It gets even worse. When you're in there, as I said, you know, you do the fact finding the best you can. Once you're in and amongst it, guys, you speak to the locals, you speak to the residents. And I did that both last summer and when I was up there just now as well. And the community leaders have said they put the WhatsApp group together. They started to mobilize after I'd been, because there was a big stink this time last year, spring of last year, but no one did anything about it. I went and did something about it. That drove community action, or what we call direct action. So being up there and working with this group, this big old group that's formed now in Dalton and Furness, I was speaking to the residents, and one guy who had a disabled son said to me, Nick, thank you. This was on Friday night. Thank you so much for being here. This centre here was supposed to be, the initial plans, it was going to be a centre for disabled children. Okay, I didn't know any more details than that, but to me that sounds great. It's a plot of land, and you're going to make it a centre so that everyone near to Dalton in Furness that has a disabled child in whatever way, shape or form has a centre for them to be at, to learn, to have fun, to play, to socialise. Now, this got turned down in favor of the mosque, and this father's, so I knew all that, and this father's come up to me and he said to me, you know, and he said to me, the nearest place now I have to go for my son, my disabled son, is about a 45-minute drive away. So, guys, look, we'll move on because this is all very distressing. But you do see the sense, don't you, guys? So I do my research, I do. Then community direct action gets formed. Then I go back again, follow it all up, and happy to help, obviously, and lead the charge, etc., and inspire and create confidence and motivate. And as I'm there, one of the sickest elements of this story is that a disabled son's father is there to shake me by the hand and say, you do realize this was going to be a center for the disabled, whatever that means, looks and sounds like. Great, gets my vote. And I said to him, how far have you got to go now? Because what if there were two other in Dalton in Furness, you know? So for complete fairness, I said, how far have you got to drive now? And he said, 45 minutes, 45 minutes. So the locals of Dalton in Furness, the nearest disabled centre, learning centre for children, is now going to be 45 minutes away when it could have been and was supposed to be on the doorstep in a place like Dalton in Furness. Instead, a mosque is going up as well. Can you guys help me with that? Can you help me understand that? Let's go back to some of the comments. Wow. Yeah. Some good Christian people. Some good Christian people in the comments, and some very angry comments as well. Okay, cool. Well, we'll ignore that for now. Keep on putting in your messages of positivity and love and hope and light in the comments, and we will slowly but surely drown the demons out, is what we'll do, my brothers and sisters. So that's the story with regard to Dalton in Furness. If you guys aren't already, jump onto my YouTube channel, which is at Nick Tenconi, and subscribe. All my speeches will be there, and there's also loads of shorts and reels if YouTube is your preference over any other page. But my speech will be going up soon from Dalton in Furness. That then takes us to Saturday, where I arrived on the scene from about 12:30 in Liverpool at Cathedral House, where Father Anthony O'Brien had condemned us. Who's a Catholic priest. Don't know why he's condemned us, but he had. And he's condemned us and stood with the fascists, the communists. The communists are fascists. They're today's fascists as well. You know, we very much have a fascistic presence in Britain, and it exists on the left. So Father Anthony O'Brien decided, yeah, look, I'm going to condemn the UKIP march, your walk with Jesus. The dedicated, the designation to the walk, ladies and gentlemen, was honouring the passion of our Lord. So I'm not entirely sure what Father O'Brien is eating, drinking, or smoking, but that's pretty weird, right? To condemn us. If no priest at the cathedral or anything to do with Liverpool Cathedral had said or done anything, then that's absolutely fine. Like, don't stand with us then. We're taking our country back. It's down to the laity. But to actually pick a side, and what we did, and our social media tells the story, guys, but when we arrived, you got about 100 disciples who have met at the cathedral, and they've met exactly where they were supposed to meet. And then what the communists have done is they've surrounded the 100 or so. So let's say the left have chucked what? 300 people at it, 400 people at it. If you've got 100 disciples turning up who haven't met each other before, who have traveled to be there, that's amazing. That's unheard of in this country on the socially conservative right. That's a win. But what you've got is the left are professional agitators. They're professional agitators. They're professional activists. So they know that all they've got to do is produce 200, 300, 400 people. And it's been exactly the same since I've been deployed myself at street level the first time round in this context, which was February 2003. So for 3 years, month in, month out, often week in, week out, I've seen their tactics. When the socially conservative right produce 100, 200 people, etc., the left will make sure that they've got 200, 300 people. And it doesn't matter how many people are bussed in. It doesn't matter from where they came. It doesn't matter for how far they've had to travel. The Socialist Worker Party is funded by trade union money. And the numbers behind the trade unions, what they bring in per annum, is huge, guys. I always forget the number off the top of my head, but it's millions and millions and millions. And they give the trade unions, they give the Socialist Worker Party funding to do all this stuff. Then you've got Stand Up to Racism, which I think is actually a charity, isn't it? And people will actually donate to these causes. So they've got endless funding, and it's the easiest thing for them in the world to do to start advertising via their mailer and via their social media channels to make sure that they get as many people there as possible. And their job, once they're there, is to trap, in the case of Liverpool on Saturday, is to trap the Christians, is to trap the disciples. You've got boys, girls, men, women, you've got young, old, you've got 100 or so people, the whole plethora of society right there. And the Marxists have said, you don't have a right to be here. We don't want you here, and we don't want your message. Our message is a dedication to the passion of our Lord. Now, that's demonstrable. So the left are lying when they challenge us on that. It's demonstrable because you'll see the footage on social media, or if you're there, you'll have access to the prayer book, the order of service. So they trap us in this semicircle. Now, here's what happened, and this is the main thrust of this evening's conversation. Merseyside police, they did the same when we were there last summer, which I want to say was either July or August. Merseyside police have had 4 weeks to be operationally fit for what we brought to the table on Saturday. Law-abiding, everything was perfect. We arrived on time, the whole bit. Merseyside police have had over a month to get organised. We're also mustering from 12 p.m. So when I arrive between 12:30 and 12:45, depending on how long it takes me to get through because of security issues, when I arrive right in the center of it, by the way, I don't fear anyone, let alone Marxists. I only fear God's wrath. I'm right there in the center of it, patriots. So they've had from 12 to get organised, and they've had a month's notice. Merseyside police, you with me so far? Now we're stood there getting to the thrust. We're stood there for about an hour, and you can imagine the sort of dialogue that's happening between myself and the commander, whether they've got a little red cap or a blue cap or a white cap or a gold cap or whatever. It depends who's deployed on the day. You got hundreds of police forming lines everywhere, and we are doing this march, and we're headed in that direction. Everybody knows why we're here, and we know the score. 115, we're still not moving anywhere. 120, we're still not moving anywhere. 130, still not. You see where I'm going with this? And you can imagine the dialogue between me and Mr. Redcap with the little red badge there, where I start saying, you need to clear these people out the way. Marxists, communists, Antifa, domestic terrorists. That's what they are. We're here peacefully, with notice, all signed and sealed, to have an explicitly Christian religious march honoring the holy passion of our Lord. And you've got hundreds of lefties here swearing, blowing their horns and their whistles and banging their drums, and surrounding us, people that aren't even from Liverpool, all union funded money, right? All far left extremism, the entire full life cycle product of what it is to be a far left extremist. Why are these people here? Why are they there? Does that make sense, guys? Why are they there? Well, apparently we're insignificant. Apparently not. Apparently we're irrelevant. Apparently not. Apparently we're nothing. Apparently not. So why are they there? They are there to intimidate us. They're there to try and break our spirit. They're there to say, you can't go anywhere. You can't move anywhere. So it's the police's job to ensure that our path is cleared. That's why we're there. And that's why the police are there. The police are there to do their job. And we saw this last summer with Merseyside police when we had our mass deportations rally in Liverpool. Now, we arrive at 1:30, 1:40, 1:45. And I'm saying to Mr. Redcap, and I'm getting impatient now because we are essentially being held and kettled there. There's no communication coming from the police. Every time, you can imagine the dialogue, every time I say something, Mr. Redcap or whoever says, yeah, with the earpiece, we're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. We're almost there, we're almost there. Now imagine you heard that at 1:10. Now imagine you heard that at 1:15, 1:20, 1:25. Now imagine you heard that at 1:30, 1:35, 1:40. Now imagine you hear that at the 45-minute mark. Yeah, we're almost there. We're just getting them there. We're just forming everything, right? Okay. So I know exactly how to handle this. But of course, I'm going to play ball until it's time not to play ball. Now, I know we've come in this way. You guys with me so far? We've come in this way. And I know we can get back out that way, which is also the direction of our march. But we'd also been served different sections which said that we could only go this way now and around the block, which, by the way, the police couldn't clear. That's what we were waiting for. So I've acquiesced. I've played ball, Mr. Law-abiding citizen. We get to pretty much 2 o'clock. It's time for a change of tactics. We're going to go back the way we came. This, of course, is something the police aren't aware of or prepared for. despite hundreds of cops and, again, mustering from 12 and the month's notice. You're with me so far? We're going to go back the way we came. And guess what happened when we came back the way we came and went out to start our religious march? Guess what happened? The left attacked us. you can't write it. And who do you think's getting arrested and going fast track to jail if anyone retaliated? Because the left can't fight. The left aren't fighters. It would be an absolute disaster of epic proportions for the right. And we know that. Merseyside police kettled us, knowing full well that I would lose my rag and we would go out the way we came, justifiably so. They also knew that that was free for us to do. And they knew that the left would pounce then. Then they know that the right will decimate the left. It'd be absolute carnage. Heaven, God forbid, they would be destroyed. God forbid. They know that. Merseyside police know that. So they set a trap. We'll keep these people there for as long as possible till the leader, me, says we're going to go that way. Then the left will attack. The police will allow them to attack, etc. And then they've got exactly what they want, which is to trap the patriots and get them all on a violent disorder charge. Because Merseyside police and the powers that be, with an awful lot of the police up and down the country, some of them play a straight bat, they're okay. But a lot of these people, they work for the communists. This is their job. So I set up Liverpool. I do everything. I set up, I'm there, I lead the people. It's an absolute honor and a privilege. And even then, the police still say, no, Mr. Tenconi, you're not going anywhere. You're going to get mugged off by us. You're not going anywhere. You're kettled. So how am I supposed to do my order of service? How am I supposed to do my procession? I can't. And you've got the left with the whistles and the horns, and that they know exactly what they're doing with the drums and the police know that. So I'm going to do the order of service whilst that's going on in my ear. Absolutely not. No way. And that's what they wanted. No way is that happening. So I lead us out. I march us out. The left do a terrible job of attacking us. Absolutely pathetic. Lily-livered cowards. And then the police obviously panic. And then they kettle us again. And this time we've moved into a different street, which makes no difference. And guess what the police start doing? They form one line here, because we're now in a street, a tunnel, if you will. They form one line here, and they don't let the left come through. And they start pushing these guys towards the station this way, if that makes any sense geographically at all, guys. So the Liverpool police can do their job. They just needed me to be their commander-in-chief. Well, guys, I'm not paid. So I'm actually sick of doing your job for you. And it's actually pathetic as well, because here's the bit that I wanted to mention to you all. Now, some of this is on camera and some of it will be going up, but on social media. But at some point, Mr. Redcap has actually got a piece of my mind. And I've told him in front of probably about 15 of his officers, which took all my vocal strength and projection so that they could all hear. I told him, get your batons out, get the horses in and deal with these people. I wasn't exactly that polite, but I said essentially, look, mate, you're an embarrassment. Your troops should all be laughing at you. This operationally, this is disgusting. Get the batons out, get the horses out, and get into these people now and deal with them. And this was a little tete-a-tete that me and Mr. Redcap had whilst he was sort of trying to appease me. But by 1:45, it was time for him to get a good spanking, which is exactly what this little you-know-what got. Tall guy, broad shoulders, not having it, mate, right? And we can go and speak quietly if you want. Do you know what I'm trying to say? He got told, his officers heard it, and every single one of those officers will have gone home that night going, this isn't right. This isn't right. These Marxists, these far left extremists, they are trying to intimidate and bully disciples who want to have a peaceful Christian march. There's no political message here. They can even look at our order of service, which, by the way, the police had a front row seat to once I delivered that slightly further down the road when the police actually did their jobs. So those officers will have gone to, I mean, at least 15, maybe 20 guys. They will have gone to bed that night. If they have consciences and if they have souls, thinking this is wrong. This is so wrong. And remember, these are the subordinates, the commanders. I have no beef with ordinary plod. Generally speaking, you get good cops, you get bad cops. I have no beef with plod, CID, plod, whatever. Some good, some bad. But the commanders, in these cities like London, like Liverpool, like Bristol. They work for the communists. 4 months' notice, mustering from 12, 1 hour. And it was an incredibly warm day as well, by the way. And disciples have turned up, men and women, young and old, to have an order of service, guys, to be devotional, to be prayerful, and to be mindful as we approach the end of Lent. That's all they wanted. And the left are doing everything within their power to provoke us and to sabotage us. And the Merseyside police, the police were acquiescing every other minute. Yeah, Nick, I'll get back to you in just a minute. I'll get back to you. Yeah, we're almost done clearing a path. We're almost done. So what I would say is that in terms of masculinity, I suspect that this particular commander is basically a femboy. He's basically not a man. He's got control of his troops, but he won't do anything. He's got command, but he won't use it. Either he is pathetic, whoever this individual is, or he genuinely was trying to subvert our march. Now, of course, I deal with police up and down the country all the time. Some play a straight bat. We'll say no more about it. That's fine. Some don't. This was an absolute disgrace. Young, old, men, women, disciples that traveled. They didn't even know each other, a lot of these people. And they've all come to have a devotional procession to the Passion of our Lord. And Mr. Redcap, who's speaking to Mr. Whitecap, who's the boss, who I spoke with also, they're not letting us go anywhere, patriots. Can you imagine them doing that to Jews? Can you imagine them doing that to Muslims? Imagine that. If there's a great big Muslim prayer festival you see it all the time, don't you, of 100 to 200 Muslims gathering to pray. Now imagine a group of left-wingers or right-wingers, whatever, socialists, conservatives, basically banging the drums, getting the horns and the whistles out. Put that to the lefties, yeah? And the psychopaths who will be watching this saying, what are you talking about? There's no problem. Now imagine them doing that around Muslims. You know the scenes that we see in London and other places where all the Muslims get together to do the praying and all of the meditating. And sometimes they beat themselves and slap themselves across their chest. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Whether it was the socialists or conservatives or ethno-nationalists, imagine they did what the left did to us. Yeah? The police would go mental at the group doing that. What did Merseyside police do to the group that was doing that to us disciples that came in peace? They allowed them. They indulged them. They stayed with them. They refused to let us march. They refused to let us move through. And the left are laughing. The left find this hilarious. They think this is brilliant because the left get away with murder. Look at what happened in Avon and Somerset. The Bristol 4, Summer 20. Look what happened. Avon Somerset police literally allowed for the tearing down of a statue. They gave the go-ahead. They gave the green light. Look at what Merseyside police did to us on Saturday, kettling us. I told him, Mr. Redcap, get the horses out, get the batons out, get in there and deal with these people. Make your mark. Stand for what is right, for justice, for democracy, and for the fact that we arranged to be here. That coward, that man has to go to bed every night, no different from the commanders in Avon and Somerset police from circa 20, every night knowing he's a coward. Every night that guy's got to go to bed going, yeah, I gave in to the woke mob, because they know what will happen with the communists and the Islamists, no different from what we saw in Hare Hills in summer 24. With the Islamists, the far left will riot. Guess what they'll do in Bristol and Liverpool if the police dare take the side of fairness, righteousness, and justice? They'll riot. The left, the communists, the Marxists, and the Islamists, these people are violent. The fact that they can't fight, the fact that they can't beat us when it comes to violence, when it comes to self-defense, when it comes to attack, the fact they can't beat us is irrelevant. They are violent in orientation. Marxists and Islamists have always been violent in orientation. Their mindset, their attempts, their rhetoric is violence. So across the country, London, Bristol, Liverpool, lots of different places, you'll see it, patriots, again and again and again. Why does law enforcement pander to these people? Because if they don't, these people will riot. That's what they'll do. And these are life's losers. They don't care whether they go to prison or not. They don't care what happens to them. They're life's losers. They'll wear a balaclava and then they'll crawl back into the hole, the little tunnel that they live in. That's it. Now, that was true very much so of the old far left extremists in Britain. Not what you have nowadays. This is even weaker. Like, it's pathetic. These people are cowards, and the commanders of the various police forces that curtail, that pander to these mobs, these woke mobs of Antifa and Stand Up to Racism and Socialist Worker Party scumbags. They're all cowards. They're all cowards. And this is why I fight, patriots. And this is why we keep turning up. We turned up, we had our march, and then everyone went home. It's the second time we've done that now. And they're powerless. They're powerless. Both the communists, the Islamists, and the police force. They're powerless to do anything with us when we deploy direct action. Thanks be to God. There are a few closing points that I want to announce. April the 25th, guys, Saturday, April 25th, we're going to be in Leeds. That's UKIP's mass deportations rally, Saturday, April the 25th. The Saturday before that, Saturday the 18th of April, we'll be doing UKIP's explicitly Christian religious march. That is going to be in London. So our first one was London, then we went to Alum Rock, then we went to Liverpool. Now we're going to be back in London, splitting our time between the north and the south, both the mass deportations and the explicitly Christian religious marches. Thanks be to God. Now, Saturday, the 18th of April, London. Be there, patriots. If you're Christian or supporter of the faith, thanks be to God, be there. Please be there, because we have a special announcement at the end of that march. And it pertains specifically to the announcement that came out of the House of Lords last Wednesday, Saturday the 18th. If you're a Christian or supporter of the faith, make sure you're there. The following Saturday, Saturday the 25th, we'll be in Leeds. We'll be taking on Antifa, the Socialist Worker Party, Stand Up to Racism. We're taking Leeds back. We're calling for mass deportations because, as I've alluded to for over 47 minutes now, patriots, if you're not convinced hearing this, you're never going to be convinced. There is no political leader. There is no political party, only me and only UKIP saying, not only will we take out the illegals, we will get rid of the illegals. Not only will we take out the Islamists, we will get rid of the Islamists, but the communists and the Marxists, they're going home as well. And it is time. I'm not interested in what liberals have to say or think. I am interested in what the socially conservative, patriotic Christian right has to say and think. Remember, these liberals, these secular liberals, these people back the Marxists. An awful lot of them, guys, they back the Marxists. They stand for everything that goes against our religion, our faith, our book, and our traditions. No political party or political leader says it the way it needs to be said. Only me. Not just the illegals, not just the Islamists, the Marxist patriots. They've got to go. And thanks be to God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I do hope that you have all had a blessed and fruitful Lent. And for those of you giving it your absolute all, just over a week to go, patriots. Just over a week to go. And for those of you who are trying desperately, keep trying. Same as me. It's all I'm doing is trying. Get yourself into mass as quickly as possible. There was one final thing I was going to mention today. It's a big one today. We've had to go through an awful lot. It's been hard. Today, Sarah Malala, whatever, she's been enthroned or whatever. You know, it's official. She's Archbishop of Canterbury. Women can't be priests. All together now. Women can't be priests. Women can't be priests. So we have our book, Patriots, chapter and verse, but we also have the church traditions. And some of you have been lied to. You just go for chapter and verse. You've been lied to. It's about the traditions. God left us a church. He left us traditions. That church put the book together. Women can't be priests. Get yourself into mass as quickly as is humanly possible, patriots. Turn to the purple tidal wave. Get behind UKIP. Join UKIP. Become a member. Put your name forward to stand as a candidate on my watch, I swear to you on everything that's holy, with holy fury and patriotic rage, we will send these people home. We will take our country back, and we will reinstate Christianity back into the heart of government. God bless you all. And I very much look forward to seeing you, God willing, on Wednesday next week at the usual time of 8 p.m. Peace be with you.